Hello, welcome back to the True Crime Lounge podcast. I do have a YouTube that you can go and check out. I also have a Patreon that you are more than welcome to join. You don't have to, but by joining, you do receive early access to the season's episodes and the miniseries episodes. I also am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm not going to argue if it's Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, or X. I don't really care, right? Anyway, I just had a conversation about that earlier with someone. But anyway, now that we have that out of the way, let's dive into today's episode. Today we're continuing on with our season 3. Oh, the irony. And today, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Ricardo Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, or most commonly known as Richard Ramirez, who is a serial killer with at least 13 to 16 plus victims from 1984 to 1985. His methodologies include stabbing, shooting, and beating. And on November 7, 1989, he was sentenced to death. On June 7, 2013, he died in prison. So, he was born February 29, 1960 in El Paso. It is believed that he was influenced into becoming a murderer by his cousin Mike. Yeah. Mike was a Special Forces Vietnam War veteran who boasted about killing and torturing the Vietnamese enemies. He would even show Polaroid pictures of his victims. And Ramirez was present the night that Mike shot his wife, even having her blood land on his face. Okay, sociopath meets a sociopath. Am I right? Am I right? Because I have a feeling Ramirez was a very influential kid, if you know what I mean. His criminal career is believed started about 1985 when he would attack Maria Hernandez. She was 22 and outside her home. He shot her before entering in her house inside, and there was Dale Akazaki. I apologize if I'm butchering that up. I'm terrible at names. Who was 34. Ramirez immediately would shoot and kill him. Hernandez was survived due to the bullet ricocheting off her keys and that she held in her hand. This was done to protect her. Within an hour of killing Dale, he struck again on Monterey Park. He would then jump 30-year-old Tasilan Yu. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not. He then pulled out of his car onto the road, where he shot several times and fled. Two police would find her breathing. However, she would die before the ambulance arrived. These two attacks occurred in the same day, which would gain media attention, and this would dub him the walking killer and the Valley Intruder. On March 27, he would shoot 64-year-old Vincent Cesari and his wife, Maxine. Maxine's body was mutilated with several stab wounds and a T carving on her chest, on her left breast, and her eyes gouged out. The autopsy would determine that the mutilation was post-mortem, which is even sicker. So, and this would leave footprints in the flower bed that police would take a picture and then cast. Though, sorry y'all, I've been working all day, and I just got done with schoolwork, so trying to get an episode in real quick before I go to bed. This was the only evidence that would show police had his time, and the bullets found at the scene matched those at previous scenes, and this would make it that a serial killer was on the loose. Vincent and Maxine's body were discovered in their Whittier home by their son. A multi-country police investigation was now in operation, with law enforcement agencies working through the month of April, with no additional attacks by Ramirez. 2 months after um, the killings of the couple, Ramirez would attack a Chinese couple, 66-year-old Wu and his wife, 66-year-old Jin Wu, who were bound and then violently raped. For unknown reason, he decided to let Jean live. Ramirez's attacks were now in full swing. He left behind more clues into his identity and was named Night Stalker. Survivors of the attackers will provide police with a description of a tall Hispanic man with long dark hair. On May 29, 1985, he would attack Malviel Keller, who was 83 and disabled, Sister Blanche Wolf, who was 80, by beating them with a hammer. He attempted to rape Keller, but failed. Using a lipstick, he drew pentagrams on Keller's thighs and on the wall of the bedroom. Blanche would survive the attack. The next day, he bound, raped, and sodomized 41-year-old Ruth Wilson. Her 12-year-old son was locked in the closet. He would slash Wilson once, then bound her with her son together, then left. In June and July, he would kill 3 more women. 2 had their throats cut, and 1 was beaten to death. But all 3 had their home invaded in the process. On July 5th, he would attack Whitney Bennett, who was 16, with iron. On July 7th, he would attack and attempt to rape Linda Fortuna, who was 63. On June 20th, he would then strike it twice. In the Sun Valley, he would shoot and kill a 32-year-old man whose name I am not even going to attempt to pronounce, and his 29-year-old wife, Sakima. Sakima was beaten and forced to perform oral intercourse. Ramirez then collected valuable and proceeded to leave. He would later that day shoot a Glendale couple, shooting and mutilizing their corpse. On August 6th, he would shoot both Christopher Peterson, who was 18, and his wife Virginia, who was 27, in the head. Somehow, they survived. And on August 8th, he would attack a Diamond Bar couple. He would fatally shoot Amanzia, 35, before raping, sodomizing, and forcing his wife, whose name I will not attempt to pronounce, who was 28, to perform a fellatio on him. I have no clue what that is, but it sounds gross. He would then, and each time they would give the attacker that was the previous one given for the walking killer, Hispanic and long dark hair. Ramirez then left the Los Angeles area, and on August 17th, he shot to death 66-year-old man in San Francisco, also shooting and beating his wife. The wife survived a wound and was able to identify the attacker as the walking killer from police scanners. The walking killer no longer fit the MO of the attacker, and they redubbed him the Night Stalker. The big leak in the case came August 24th, 1985, when he traveled 50 miles south of Los Angeles to Mission Viejo and broke into a Mediterranean Village apartment of Bill Carnes, 29, and his fiancée Inez Erickson, who was 27. Ramirez and Carnes in the head shot. Ramirez shot Carnes in the head and raped Erickson. He demanded to swear her love for Satan, and afterwards forced her to perform oral intercourse with him. He then tied her and left. Erickson struggled to the window and saw the car Ramirez was driving, and she was able to give a description. of both Ramirez and his orange Toyota station wagon. A teenager later identified the cat from the news and wrote half its license plate number. A stolen car was found August 28, and the police were able to obtain one fingerprint from the mirror. The prints would belong to one Richard Muñoz Ramirez, who was described as a 25-year-old drifter from Texas with a long rap sheet that included many traffic arrests and illegal drug violation. 2 years later, his mugshots would be broadcast on television and printed to cover every newspapers in California. The next day, he was identified and surrounded and severely beaten by an angry mob in Los Angeles as he was trying to steal a car. Police had to break up the mob to prevent him from killing Ramirez. Such an ironic way, don't you think? Which is how he dubbed his spot in this season. So the jury selection for the case will begin July 22nd, and on September 20th, 1989, he was found guilty on 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, 14 burglaries. During the penalty phase of the trial on November 7, 1989, he was sentenced to die in California's gas chamber. This trial was one of the most difficult and longest criminal trials in American history. Nearly 1,600 prospective jurors were interviewed, more than 100 witnesses testified, while a number of witnesses had a difficult time recalling certain facts 4 years after the crime. Others were quite certain of the identity of Richard Ramirez. On August 3, 1988, the Los Angeles Times reported that some jail employees overheard Ramirez planning to shoot the prosecutor with a gun, which Ramirez intended to have smuggled into the courtroom. Consequently, a metal detector was installed outside the courtroom, and extensive searches were conducted on people. And on August 14th, the trial was interrupted because one juror, Phyllis Singletree, did not arrive to the courtroom. Later that day, she was found shot to death in her apartment, and the jury was terrified. They could not help but wonder if Ramirez had somehow directed this event from inside a prison cell, and if he could reach out other jury members. However, Ramirez was not responsible for her death. She had been shot and killed by her boyfriend, who later shot and killed himself with the same weapon in a hotel. The alternative juror who replaced her was too frightened to return to her home. By the time of the trial, Ramirez had fans writing him letters and paying him visits. Since 1985, freelance magazine editor Doreen Louis wrote nearly 75 letters during incarceration. In 1988, he proposed to her, and on October 12, 1966, they were married in California's San Quentin State Prison. He also stated that he will commit suicide when Ramirez is executed. This should be a video right here. Right? So, on August 2007, the first round of state appeals ended unsuccessfully when the Supreme Court held his convictions to death sentence. And on September 7, 2006, he was denied for a request for a rehearing. So there was a question there when he appeared on Answer Me, issue 4, and it was favorite sports, rugby, football, boxing, favorite music, heavy metal, favorite actress, Samantha Strong, favorite food, here's the weird answer, women's feet. Yes. Oh, here's his favorite hobbies and pastimes. Traveling and measuring dolphins. Oh, would you like to know what his wish was? To have a finger on a nuclear trigger device. Yes, this guy is all forms of messed up. Oh, when he was asked to describe himself, it was, "I'm an a-hole and proud of it." Of course, he didn't use a-hole, and I'm not going to say the actual word. And to make things even more weird, here was his answers to a question. Um, if you like a girl, how do you get her to notice you? He goes, "I pull a gun out." Seriously, this guy is just all kinds of messed up right here. Like, anyway, so the public pressure was really on. In Los Angeles County, both the county and the municipal police were anything but idle. They recognized and admitted the enormity of the problem that they had, as long as the Night Stalker was for their own. No one was safe. But now they wondered if there was a leash to a mad dog that seems to be invisible. More than other lawmen, More than any other lawman, Detective Sergeant Frank Salerno of the County Department Homicide Squad was the man most appropriate for answering the riddle. He knew the tricky mind in the homicidal maniac could be. In June 1985, not long after the killings began, Salerno took it upon himself to list similarities in the 6th suburban Los Angeles. There were certain MOs that did match. And now there were signs of devil worship that were resurfacing in many of the killings. This guy had an MO right here, seriously, like. So, you remember those pentagrams I mentioned earlier? This would appear in Marvel Kell and many of his victims. Like, how messed up does this guy have to be? How many people did it have to take for him to get caught? But surprisingly, he had a fan base. Not surprisingly though, because Bundy had a fan base and everything, but investigators would follow the Satan cult theory, fell on the place where such grounds assembled and questioned him. Salerno wanted the killer to feel the heat, to panic and blunder and to open through his own hysteria. Simultaneous to a big squeeze, in August, the task force announced the formation of a press conference. So, no matter. On August 31st, 1985, he would step off a Greyhound bus in Los Angeles. And there was a matter of lost time that Ramirez began talking and did not like, and refused to accept him as a new lawyer. So, yeah, because when you get an appointed attorney, you can't, you can just not like them and fire them just like that, right? Yeah, not how it works, but you do you. So in Judge Timon's courtroom, hammered with excitement the day the trial opened in late January, estimated length of the trial claimed reporters was 4 to 6 months. There was media there, and a gavel announced the commencement, and the bailiff called for quiet, only for a wire of the ceiling to be heard. He addressed the jury, reminding them that there was trying to a vicious monster who had no regard for human life or decency. Because I'm pretty sure the court of public opinion was already up about this one. But today, Ramirez sits in San Quentin's death row, where he has deposited more than a decade ago. Having been tried for his crimes he is known to have committed in Los Angeles, he still not has been tried for the alleged murders that occurred in San Francisco, Orange County in 1995. Then, 10 years later, 10-year-old case against Ramirez was killing of Mr. and Mrs. Pan in Orange County. Alright, that's it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a great day.